tonight football is finally here, albeit in an exhibition form. We've got the Hall of Fame game, the Cleveland Browns and the New York Jets, two really interesting teams this year, I think, and mainly because of their quarterbacks. Deshaun Watson looking to bounce back and get back to the old Deshaun Watson that we haven't seen in a few years now. Of course, he had his issues off the field with the sexual harassment, assault, all of that stuff. He's trying to move past that and wasn't very good last year. What did he play, 6 games last year? Yep. Wasn't very good, but this year we'll see if he can bounce back. And then, of course, for the New York Jets, Aaron Rodgers playing for his first time outside of Green Bay. So a lot of expectations, certainly in New York and even at places throughout the NFL. So Martin Weiss, I'm going to throw this question at you. Which quarterback do you think will have a better year, Aaron Rodgers or Deshaun Watson? You can throw in the team success too. So that's the question.
Well, team success is definitely going to matter, especially in New York, because if they come out and they get off to an ugly start, that's going to be, all of the Taylor Swift honeymoon messes. That's going to be well over very quickly. Right. I think that Aaron Rodgers will have the better year. I was just talking about this. Chris, in the last 3 years, Aaron Rodgers has won 2 MVPs, no? Like he's been right there. And he had a broken thumb last year on his throwing hand. Really, until Mike Sando came out with the NFL tiers, I was wondering if I was losing my mind. Because I was the only one that thought Aaron Rodgers was still elite. I'm sorry, that dude can still spin it and play. Like, he's nice. And with Deshaun Watson, as good as he's been in his career, it really hasn't turned into real success on the field. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. They did make the playoffs a few times in Houston, but his last year there, he was tremendous individually. You're right. They only won 4 games. So you're right on that.
So I think when you look at the team success, I think the Jets will be better than the Browns. I think that Rodgers will be, again, rookie receivers last year, broken thumb, and I get it towards, he's out there. So what matters is what he's doing when he's out there, right? So he's playing, he's not sitting, but still, Chris, even towards the end of the year, he turned it on a little bit, started looking a little bit more like a little bit.
He wasn't himself. He still hasn't been putting up the big numbers. I mean, look, I'm with you. I know you work with first things first. You're there in the morning meetings and all that. And so I know my thought. I'm with you. Now, I do understand the apprehension about Rodgers. I am not as sold as you are that, it was just, I don't know what you blame, the injury. And I get it. I do think the injury played a factor. I also think the fact that he wasn't engaged in Green Bay anymore, wasn't engaged with his receivers. He clearly wasn't happy with the organization. I think all of that played a role, and I think an Aaron Rodgers with a chip on his shoulder is the best Aaron Rodgers.
I mean,
and that
Chris
certainly is this year's. And you're right, the pieces around him, the running backs, the receivers led by Garrett Wilson. The offensive line is a bit of a question mark, but I think he'll make them better himself with quick releases and smart play. And I think they'll be a little better than people expect. And the defense obviously is locked down. So I'm with you there. I'm not 100% certain. I am betting on Rodgers to have a great year, a very good year. Not necessarily the MVP, but closer to that than he was last year. But I think I have a little more doubt than you do because he does turn 40 in December.
I mean, yeah. And you know what? Father Time is undefeated. And I get it. He's old, and we cannot keep going with, Tom Brady did it because Tom Brady is one of one.
Everybody's not going to be that. Right.
Everybody's not going to be there. And I understand. You're right. I do. I watch First Things First every day. I know. It's been how many weeks, Kevin Wild, since Aaron Rodgers threw for 300 yards?
Right. 23. I hear that every day.
Look, I get it. I 100% get it. But to your point, Aaron Rodgers with a chip on his shoulder, real or perceived, we've seen it. We've seen it happen. They draft a quarterback in the first round. He's like, oh, you want to do that? All right, good luck. Just watch me win back-to-back MVPs. Watch me, and you know what? Maybe, Chris, a lot of this maybe stems from being in Detroit for 10 years and covering the Lions and that team.
He paced y'all a lot.
I'm saying, look, y'all is a stretch, but still the point remains, I have seen Aaron Rodgers do a lot of crazy things on the football field. I got a lot of respect for that man in his game.
What are your expectations for the Jets then? I think they'll make the playoffs. And look, once you get there, especially when you have a quarterback like Rodgers, you're a threat. But I don't think they'll come out of the AFC, but I do think they'll make the playoffs.
No, I got them as a wild card. I think Miami actually is going to win the division. Like, even with Ramsey being hurt.
So where do you have Buffalo making the playoffs?
No.
Wow. Right now, I've thought about that. This is a tough one because I think these three teams are all good. Right now, and, we'll make our official picks as we get closer to the season. But right now, I'm leaning Buffalo winning it, the division, and New York being the wild card and Miami missing, which I hate to say because they are stacked.
I mean, Miami is stacked up and down, and I know the whole thing if Tua can stay upright, but then they went and got Mike White. Mike White can start 4 games in a season. I'm not saying you're happy about it, but it's not like there's a few. Look, Zach Wilson can't start 4 games this season. You know what I'm saying? He's a decent backup, right? He's a decent backup. He'll be able to. He should be able to get the ball out. And again, it's one of those things. It's like you just got to show up almost. Like if you're the quarterback of the Dolphins, I'm not saying
they stacked. I'm still thinking I can't see 3 teams making it though.
I don't see, but
you're
that's
leaving out Buffalo. That's saying a lot. Woo!
Well, Chris, all right, let's think it out, right? That defensively, I feel like they've taken a step back, just even without Leslie Frazier being there and Sean McDermott taking a bigger role. But like last year, defensively,
they missed Von Miller a lot. Like he's
exactly,
back, and that's a big loss. But with him back, I think they'll be better. I think Tre'Davious White will be better. He wasn't very good when he came back. But we can get to that another time. But quickly, Deshaun Watson. So it's one thing to say Aaron Rodgers will have a better year. What type of year, though, do you think Watson has quickly? Like, can he get back to what he was in Houston, in your view?
I know he better for the sake of the Browns in that contract, but honestly, I don't think so. I don't. Wow. I mean, think about
it. 27.
Well, just think about the only guy I can really think of as analogous is Michael Vick, who, like, when he sat, I mean, obviously they were in different types of trouble, and obviously Mike went to jail and all that. But like when you just take a year off, quote unquote, essentially, which is what he did the last year in Houston.
Basically been almost 2 years.
It's almost been 2 years, and in that 6-game sample size, obviously it wasn't great. But I'd say this: if he's a top 5 quarterback by the end of the season, I'd be surprised.
Well, I agree with that. I don't expect top 5. I'll give him a shot at inching toward that top 10. I hope he can come back. I know he did some terrible things allegedly, but it looked like he did them. But I hope he can bounce back. And he was a great player. We'll see if he can get back to form.